Hi everybody, I just got back in from the house. If it's spring 2021 or winter, then I was just playing in the snow with my grandson. Otherwise, I'm just explaining this weird hair. Anyway, I wanted to welcome you to a new set of lessons. I'm also going to mention some extra credit opportunities, so make sure you stay tuned to this video. So if I look up, it's because I'm reading my script to make sure that I don't waste too much time trying to remember what I'm going to say and whatnot. So remember that during week 4, we learned about uh, 4 different kinds of intellectual virtue, or we learned more about, because you had a general intellectual virtue module that introduced you generally to the concept, but then you got more in-depth lessons about 4 kinds of intellectual virtue during a previous week. And so those virtues were intellectual humility, intellectual courage, intellectual perseverance. I implore you and encourage you to be mindful, to continue to be mindful of these traits, noticing them when you are in a context or situation where their manifestation may be particularly helpful and even necessary for doing something well in this course or another course or in life. After a while, your deliberate efforts to reflect the virtues will become secondhand nature, and you'll automatically just manifest the traits in various contexts, across different scenarios, different academic pursuits, and more. So we also learned more about the philosopher's approach to thinking about arguments, specifically analyzing arguments from the standpoint of logic. Again, a branch of philosophy which you first learned about in your first Smart Book assignment when you were given a more in-depth introduction to philosophy and its various branches. We received written instruction with more details about the logician's concept of argument and more information about statements and non-statements and virtue of completing a soft talk module. That same lesson in the soft talk module, or that same soft talk module, also provided basic foundational information about how to take an argument apart. So in week 2, we focused on how to put an argument together, right? Lately, we focused on how to take an argument apart to understand its structure. When we then received video-based instruction, demonstration, and coaching that showed you how to apply what you learned in an argument module by marking up a given argument in light of what you learned in respect of said argument module as I've iterated. Okay, so let me scroll down my notes. All right, so in effect, we have created a common toolkit that we can use to maximize our exploration of reality, morality, and knowledge using the COVID-19 pandemic as our case study or context in doing so. And that toolkit consists of the intellectual virtues, right? Being mindful of them and manifesting them across various contexts and scenarios, assignments, readings, and whatnot, but also the foundational argument skills that we are building through various concepts, methods, tools, and rules, and whatnot. Okay, so this week we are going to add to our toolkit by learning how to clarify arguments like a logician. We're going to take our current analytical skills and raise them up a notch. We're going to level up. We will advance them even further as we begin to read and learn about the philosophers concerned with reality, morality, and knowledge. So like I just said, later in the semester, we're going to advance our argument skills even further. That's why it's so important for you to fully engage with the soft talk modules focused on argument, but also all of the videos and the examples, the demonstrations, and the coaching, because this is just setting the foundation that you will need when we're actually reading more into philosophy and the theories and the problems, and we have to build on our argument skills to do well on that stuff later. Okay, so that said, for this week, you're going to do your last soft talk module. It's going to be the last one on argument and argument analysis. You're going to learn more about how to analyze an argument and show its structure and how it works. You'll get some more videos, new lessons, new concepts, new rules to apply, as well as more demonstration and practice using the same arguments we've already started to work on. I want you to keep in mind that I really see this class as that of teamwork. You do your part optimally, utilizing fully what I present to you so that I can do my part optimally. So obviously, my demonstration videos, my coaching videos, my application videos, my how-to videos, they're not worth anything if you're not using them. And they're not worth anything to you if you're not using them. So I've done my part in creating those videos and material to help you learn skills that we will build on and apply in the semester, but I need you to make use of them so we can work together within the context and format of the curriculum. Okay, so now I want to bring up some extra credit opportunities. So this would be for 5 points on a given on your week on the current week's task that you get for a grade. So there are the two options. So topic A is during one of the videos that I did. When I think it's a video when I introduced you to the first soft talk module on intellectual virtue, I did a lecture on assumptions. Um, I might have given you the opportunity to present points that I made from that lecture and then elaborate and comment on that lecture points about assumptions. If you've already done that for extra credit, then you can't do that again here. But if you haven't, here's the prompt. During a video lecture that I did to introduce you to the first soft talk module and how to complete it on intellectual virtue, I can't remember what week that is, I did a little mini lecture on assumptions. What are 2 or 3 points or things that I said about assumptions? Remember, don't plagiarize. If you plagiarize, you're not going to get any extra credit. Even if you paraphrase me, you need to say that Dr. Carrillo said. If you take even 3 or 4 words verbatim, you need to put quotation marks around that and say Dr. Carrillo said, or said by Dr. Carrillo. But then I'm going to need you to write at least 3 additional sentences where maybe you talk about an assumption that you once had that you found out that you didn't even realize was an assumption you had. Now, you have to use the definition of assumption that I gave you in the lecture, so that should be included in your write-up of a point that I made. How did I define assumption? Not Google, not any other source but me. And then tell me about an assumption that you became aware of. You can even tell me how you think you came to make that assumption. You can tell me whether you found out your assumption was false or turned out to be unfounded or something like that, or whatnot. Okay, so, or even you can tell me about an assumption that somebody else had and an assumption that you brought to their attention and how did they respond to that. So that would be about 6 sentences total. So at least 3 points that I made, paraphrased, you can quote, but make sure you don't plagiarize. And then, offer an example of an assumption that you discovered and or had, what was the result, or that somebody else had, maybe that you helped them discover or whatnot. Okay, so topic B for extra credit is, let's see. Oh, so I think during one of the videos for if this might be the case, I might be confusing this with another course, but I think there's a video that I did when introducing you to or getting you ready to do the guided practice with, marking up the arguments and applying stuff. I'm pretty sure I did a lecture on how the intellectual virtues relate to argument analysis. If you haven't already um, given me the points or presented those points that I made as part of extra credit for another week or another task, you can do that now still. But again, if you already did that for extra credit in another week or another task, you can't get extra credit twice for the same, response. But if you want to do that now, you can see if you took some notes about what I said about the intellectual virtues and doing argument analysis and learning to do argument analysis. What did I say about each of the intellectual virtues with respect to learning to do argument analysis and actually trying to do it? Again, don't plagiarize. If you quote even 3 words, 4 words, use quotation marks. Say Dr. C said, and then it's not enough just to say what I said or quote, do a bunch of quotes. I'm going to need at least one personal example, like maybe 3 or 4 sentences, where you talk about your experience trying to manifest one of the intellectual virtues while working through the videos or the lesson on how to apply what you learned about argument analysis. So, for example, did you manifest intellectual perseverance while learning how to apply what I told you to apply to the arguments, like the markup and whatever? So you'll need at least 3 sentences. So pick an intellectual virtue to focus on. After you present what I said about intellectual virtue and argument analysis and learning to do it, then pick an intellectual virtue and then talk about whether or not you think you manifested it. Write at least 3 sentences about that, and then you can get some extra credit. So I have given you 2 opportunities for extra credit. You can get 5 points on all of this week's task, or up to 5 points. It just depends on how good of a job you do that. And you can include that just what I prefer is that it's handwritten. You can type it up first, but then present it handwritten at the end of your notes. You might want to put in the comment box after you upload your notes for this week. In the comment box, let me know if you have extra credit written at the end of your notes so that I can look for it. If there's no room at the end of your notes, then just upload an additional sheet of paper with your comments in handwriting. Okay, or your extra credit in handwriting. That's all I have.